Today we're going to tie Kelly Galloup's TNA bunker. This is the third one in the series. We did the cone head and we did the TNA leech. Now we're going to go with the bunker for this one. Let me go ahead and get this one on the device here. That's a little brown trout version that I did a couple of days back. We're going to go ahead and get right into this. We're going to do this one today in white and gray. You know, like a kind of like a little whitefish type thing. So we're going to get started with a 2461 size 4 and get our thread going. Take this right about to the halfway point on the fly or on the hook. So right to the halfway point and just set this in. Stop your thread right there, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take some Palmered wraps of white Marabou for the back hook. And I should have picked these out beforehand, but I didn't, so bear with me. I'll take a little bit extra time on this one. Let me explain kind of how I pick out my Marabou, I guess, for these type for this type. You want something that has nice flexibility down through the stem. You don't want something really rigid, because if you go tying this in and it's real rigid, there's a chance that your stem's gonna split, everything can unravel on you, and it just makes a big mess. It winds up getting really frustrating. So find something, and I'll explain this better on the next one. I just kind of rushed through that. I had two thoughts going on in my head, and that usually doesn't work out well. I wind up forgetting something. But I'll explain this a little bit better as I go through on the next one. I'll show you what we got. But it should be just 2 plumes on this, and we should be able to get through this. So we're just going to take these wraps all the way to the end of the feather and kind of preen them back. Set those that way. Yeah, we may have to do 3, we'll see. But get those preened back and then just bring this stuff back to where you have, I mean, if you've watched the leech, the cone head, I mean, it's no surprise what we're doing on this back half. So just get those wraps through there. And we'll call that one good. We're probably going to need 3 on this one. So as you're selecting these, this is a perfect one right there. And I'll try and find a junk one too, so I can compare and contrast this. Here we go. This is a good one. So as I'll put these in here, you'll see the shaft on this one is just, there's no play to it whatsoever. It's just, you have a working section, maybe that much, maybe a third of the feather. This is a perfect overwing, by the way. It's nice and wispy. If you're doing like a dungeon or whatever, 10 at 2, perfect overwing. You throw this over top, that's great. Save that for later. In contrast, if you look at this one, look at this plume, push this down, all the way down at the bottom, it's pliable, it's all usable. So this entire thing's good. You can feel free to tie this in wherever. This isn't going to split on you. I mean, you can see it's still moving just with a light touch of my finger. I mean, it's still moving. This is a perfect Palmer, or a perfect spay plume. you'll get the majority. You'll maximize what you get out of this one. If you tie that other one in, you may get 3 wraps. If you're lucky, you'll get 3. It's likely going to be 2. And you know, by the time you preen everything back, you're not going to make any progress. So we're just going to work this through here, and 1 wrap right in front of the next. And because we found such a good one, I think we're going to be able to get away with using just 2. That first one wasn't the best, and it looked good at first, but once I started working with it, it was a little sparse. But we made up with it on the second one. Let me get 1 more wrap in there. So I think that's gonna do. We're gonna peel this stuff back. Get out of there. Try not to put my finger into the back hook, or put the back hook through my finger. There we go. You can see we just have that nice, just following along with the TNAs. You know, the leech and the cone head. That's following along the same lines as what Kelly did with those. And this is where things start changing up a little bit. We're gonna go with an MFC gray and black Marabou stacks for the top here. We're gonna change. We're gonna just throw these in, and this is gonna be our overwing throughout. This is gonna be the top portion of the fly throughout this entire fly. So we're gonna get this and lay this right over the top. I mean, you want it to go back pretty far. You don't want it being the whole way back here, because then it just kind of looks, in my opinion, it kind of looks lost. It really does. So this winds up getting really sparse when it gets wet, and this slims down to almost nothing. So peel this back. If you can get 3/4 of the way back, that's probably going to be about where you want it. So we'll just get this tied in, secure this up, spin that back, and I probably, no, that one works. That one works, it looks alright. Clean this up a little bit, go ahead and whip finish, and our back half is done. Let me get 1 more in there. I didn't quite like that for some reason. There we go. And poof, just makes a big mess. It's alright. So, we got that. There's the back half. Pretty simple. 3 stacks of Marabou. We're ready to rock and roll on to the next portion, but I covered up my front hook with all the Marabou. So like I said, the back one was a 24-61-4. This one's a 24-61-1. And I just went with this one because it gives me a little bit more room to, you know, build the head and everything. It just gives me a little bit more room, and it lets me get the profile that I like out of these. I can't say for certain the ones that Kelly used originally. I'll have to take a look next time I'm in the shop. If it were a 4 and a 2, a 4 and a 1, I don't know. I'll have to ask and get back to everybody and throw that in the material list what the original was. But just getting the wire tied in here. And go ahead and clip this off. Get that out of the way. We'll bring our size 1 in, or our bead. Once again, thinking two things at the same time. Doesn't work out. Get our back half tied in. And a couple of loose wraps. More motion, or a little bit more freedom on that back portion. So go ahead and pull that back slightly, and then getting too far ahead of myself there, trying to run too fast through that. Get the back one secured and then move this through. So, there we go. We got our wire tied in. The back hook's connected, secured. Then get rid of this thread, get back to the gel spun. Right in front of me. Good thing it wasn't a snake. There we go. Get our threads started. And then what we're going to do before we go any further on this is we're going to throw some internal flash to this fly. I'm going to go ahead and take 3 strands of Flashabou. It's just silver Flashabou. I'm going to double it over and then cut that in the center. I'm going to run this back, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 of an inch. We'll take a little bit more. We'll go between a 1/4 of an inch and a 1/2 inch past the eye of the back hook is what we'll go for our gauge on that one. I think that's roughly what we're after. And then flip these ones over, bring them on the opposite side, run this stuff right back, and then when you're done, let me get one more wrap in there. When you're done, your thread should be hanging same spot as always, right where the barb starts to come up. So now we'll just kind of peel all these back, get a nice clean cut. Everything's nice and even except for these ones that are hanging out down here trying to sneak away from me. There we go. Just gives us a little bit of internal flash for the connection. So now we're going to go back to the white Marabou. Find something that's pretty close here. I mean, find some stuff that's more on the sparse side for this back section, because what I'm going to do is take and just double this up on each side. And this is going to be like the skirt connection. That one looks like garbage. This is going to be the skirt. It's just going to cover up the connection between the front and back hook. So I'm going to find 2 of them that are pretty sparse. You wind up putting the 2 together and it'll thicken itself up pretty good. So I'll do this one on the camera side first. Let me just measure this out on my side so I can see where we're going. And I'm just going to put this down in an angle on the camera side, and I know my fingers are in the way, but once I get my hand up, you'll be able to see what I'm trying to do here. See, there's what we got with that skirt. It's just starting to cover up our connection, and then I'm going to bring another one on my side and run this down here. And all this is going to do is make a nice seamless transition between the two hooks. Adds a little bit of bulk, gives a little bit of swim, a little bit more motion and everything. Oh, I should have done these one at a time again. Get over here. Take this to the halfway point and then cut this stuff off. Now, we're going to go back to the gray and black from MFC and try and find something that's pretty bulky. You want something that's got a nice wisp to it. I like to have, and if you have to, double them up. But this one seems like it's going to be pretty good. And then we're just going to take this right over the top of it, and it's going to slick back, you know, the same length as the other ones, but this is going to slick back, and this is going to be your top cover. Now, before I run that forward, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie in the body material for this one. And this is just a medium Estaz pearl. Peel this back like always, just tie in the two strands. And now we can run this forward and get the bulk that we're after for our body. Clip that half hitch. Now, remember when you do this, that halfway isn't really halfway, because you're going to leave probably 1/4 of an inch up front for the head of this fly. We're going to do the head in wool. So halfway is really between where your body material is tied in. Let me get this spun so the camera can see it a little bit better. Where your body material is tied in and where your head's going to start. So your halfway is going to be right about there, as normally it would be there if you were running this all the way to the front. So we got our half hitch. We're going to go right to our halfway point. And we'll go ahead and tie this off. Oh, get out of my way. Now I'm going to take this behind, and I'm just going to kind of hook this on the back side, just so it keeps everything out of my way. And then I'm going to go through and find a good wispy, well, not real wispy. What I'll probably wind up doing is just doubling this up. Actually, this one will work perfect. A nice thick plume of Marabou. And we're going to put this on the bottom just to be a little bit more cover. And I'll measure this out against the skirt that I have tied in. So about halfway back is where I'm going to want this. And go ahead and split this hook, bring this right through here. Try not to put the hook through your finger. So far so good. And then just bring your Marabou up to build a little bit for your bulk for the body. And then trim this off. back to the MFC. We're gonna grab another, that's way too sparse. We're gonna grab another one of these and it's just like always, try and progress a little bit thicker as you go to the front, a little bit more bulk in the materials that you select. This one's going to be borderline. It'll work. Could double it up, but I think this one's going to do just fine. So go ahead and get this tied in, get your bulk for the body. Working on the taper. Everything looks good. Come on. Go ahead and half hitch again, get this in the cradle, and then you're going to bring your Estaz back through. Easier said than done. Making a mess. There we go. Somehow split the Marabou with the Estaz. So back in the cradle with you. Same thing, get your first wrap through here. Nice and loose. Get one full wrap. And then go ahead and pull tight. One more. Remember, we still need to have room for the head that we're going to build, but we're going to get 2 more stacks of Marabou in as well. And that kind of backed off on me there. I better really ratchet down on this. There we go. So just take your thread back to where you left off with the Estaz with the body material. Just kind of work all of this stuff back. See how we're coming through the back here. There's a little bit more black in this than I would prefer. A little bit more black in the Marabou than I prefer, but it still looks pretty good. We'll take it. How's this one look? No good. Trying to find a nice wispy plume of Marabou here, and this is an exceptional pack. Usually, I mean, when I look for the real wispy stuff, you're usually talking about a junk feather, a feather that really only has one use, and that's for an overwing or an underwing in this case. This stuff is this is one of the better packs of Marabou I've ever seen. So what I'm going to do is just double this up. These are phenomenal. Let me put this first one in here and see what it looks like first. If I don't have to double it, I'm not going to. Alright, halfway back. Yeah, I'm going to double it. I'm going to double it. And same thing, just line this up right with the last one. Go ahead and get it tied in, and I'll work this one all the way to the front. Tie that off. Yeah, that looks good. Now, I should be able to find a really good wispy, perfect. This one for the MFC, this is really good feather right here. So the same thing, we're going to take this right over the top to the halfway point of the last feather that we tied in. Give us 1, 2, 3. Bring that right to the front, and the remainder of this is going to be our head. We're going to do this with wool for the head. Now this is going to be a two-toned head here, and could have got, just looking at this now, I could have gotten these, this one could have been a little bit longer, could have actually overlapped some, but I mean, I'm really starting to nitpick on this, so I'll leave it be. But this second one could have been a lot longer and could have actually gone the same length as the skirt, but like I said, I'm nitpicking. By the time we get this head thrown on here and everything trimmed up, it's going to actually look pretty good. So we'll leave it at that, man, because I'm not going to subject everybody to me going back and making a minor correction. So just know that if you want, make that one just a little bit longer. I think it'll look a little bit better personally, but I'm not going to mix the black and olive like I do on some of the patterns that go in my box. Well, this one's still going to go in my box too, but some of the ones, like, I'll mix the heads. I'll have this gray and black. I'll mix the wool, kind of give it just a little bit different of a look. I'm just going to leave this one be. We're just going to go straight gray and white on this. Go ahead, get this cleaned out. Clean this out as best I can. And then I still got a bump in this. There we go. That looks a little better. Then we'll go ahead and get this tied in. We're going to take the gray on the top and the white on the bottom, obviously. And I'll explain this a little bit better the next stack that I do. Should be able to get away with just doing one more stack. I might have to do 3 total. So this is going to be a little unique the way we trim this one compared to like the kitty or the boogeyman or anything like that that uses wool. This one's going to be a little bit different. I mean, not a ton, but just slightly different. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my material, and let's make sure that this is going to turn out good. And I'm going to kind of do like a half moon around this before I tie anything in, so you can kind of see how I'm spreading this out. And this is just going to assure that it's going to give me that two-toned head effect that I'm looking. There's going to be a nice clean break between the gray and the white. So you just kind of split that stuff around, and then before I even move forward on this, I'm going to use the same thread path that I used for the gray. I'm going to use on the white. And then I'm going to do the same thing underneath. I'm going to set this in place, and I'm just going to kind of move my fingers around, get that half moon shape, like I did with the gray over the top, to where I just kind of spread it halfway over it, and then I'm going to fold all this back as one and go right in front of this, like so. We're going to do the same thing, stacking this on. We're going to get one more stack in here. One more stack, we'll clean everything up and then trim it out. So take this on the top, move your material around, get that nice half moon, and you'll see it a lot clearer once I start trimming this thing up. There'll be that nice split between the two colors, and it'd be a lot easier to see if I were using, you know, like a brown and white, or brown and yellow, or tan and yellow, olive and white. The gray and white are pretty similar, so you won't be able to see that as well as you could if I had a better contrast in colors. But that was by design on this one, in case I messed up when I'm filming. You're not going to be able to point out the flaw and be like, oh man, he messed up there. So, for this one, being that it's in the front, I'm going to take this right in front of the gray and not use the same thread path to get a third wrap, pull tight on that. And then just bring this back. Give that a nice, give that a whip finish. Call that good. Now, if you've watched the tying tips on working with ram's wool or anything like that, I think the Boogeyman, I went into some pretty good detail on that fly. This is a really important step to trimming and getting good shape to your wool heads. Going through here, running your bodkin through and cleaning everything up real nice really goes a long way to giving you a good profile, a good clean shape, and not having gaps in the head or anything like that. This is it's a pretty big step. So we're just going to trim through this and talk a little bit. Hopefully I'm able to be somewhat coherent to everybody. With this, like I was saying earlier, with the head being different, it's not a sculpin, so you don't have that big fat wide head. It's going to be more of a slender down the side and a rounded top. So we're just going to start with the top here and get our overall shape that we want. Like I said, it's not a sculpin. So we want this nice rounded top and bottom. Just going to work through this a little bit. And then on the sides, you can get a little bit more aggressive right off the bat and kind of cut these flat. Well, cut these a little bit flatter than what you normally do. Like with the typical sculpin style wool heads, we'll do the same thing. We'll just kind of make it a nice fat, wide profiled head. With these ones, we're just coming right back and flattening this out. So like the shape that I have on this so far. I just want to cut it down a little bit. Just kind of bear with me here. I'm trying to explain as best I can what I'm doing here while I'm still trying to get the shape. So I got the flat section that I was after. Now with this, I'm going to kind of peel this Marabou up. So I'm not going to be cutting it. Then I'm going to give this a quick trim. And then kinda, well, not kinda, I am coming back at an angle back around. So it kind of rounds this back section off more so than leaving the collar like I will with the top. And I'm really getting picky there. So what I'm going to do is just stop myself. I'm going to wind up trimming a lot more of this off. It's going to be, well, you know what, I'm not really going to be able to explain what the heck I'm talking about without showing you. So if you want to shut it off right now, I understand. I won't be upset. And you can just look at the picture and see what we wind up with, but I'm not really going to be able to explain how I'm doing this without actually doing it. So I'm just going to trim away here. So this top section is looking just how I want it to. The top section has that nice smooth transition on all the way up. This bottom section, however, trimming it the way I am and getting the overall shape that I want is tough in that direction. So what I'm doing now is just taking this out, and I'm going to run this right to the back, or right to the front, trimming this down some. I still want that half moon, or the, you know, the nice slope, but I don't want it to be as aggressive as the top is. This bottom I want a little bit more flat. So I'm going to call that good right there. I'm going to call that good. So then the last thing I'm going to do on this is I'm going to take I'm going to wind up trimming that up a little bit more before it goes to the camera. But the last thing I'm going to do is grab these 7mm fire eyes, and we're going to get these thrown on. Oh, get over here. Find my glue. I'd like that to be a little bit more flat coming back here, so. There. Just kind of flatten that out a little bit more. What are you doing? Knox, cut it out. Just kind of flatten these out. Throw your eyes on. And then same thing on this side. It's not as flat as I would like it. So I'm just going to lay my scissors flat and just work my way through the back of this. That's looking better. That's looking better. Make sure I'm in the same ballpark. And get that eye thrown on as well. Well, I really got some work to do on this to really clean it up and make it look good. But I'm gonna save everybody the time and not have me nitpick through this. So you get the overall idea of what we're after there. It's still not how I want it. But like I said, I'm gonna stop nitpicking and go with that. If you really wanted to, if you wanted to fancy this thing up a little bit, you could take your marker, black marker right over top of this and just kind of go with the overall black and gray theme that you got going on with the rest of this fly. But I'm going to leave it be as it is right now, and just maybe I'll touch it up before it goes to the camera. But there it is. That is Kelly Galloup's TNA bunker. Took a long way around the block on that one, but we got there. But if you have any questions, comments, leave them with me as always. And thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next fly.